You may have heard my guest on her Hay House radio show, or maybe you've read one of her 20 best-selling books. Today, Sonia Choquette sits with me and shares some useful tips for a balanced life. So Sonia, thank you so much for, first of all, being the first of my spiritual series, pretty much.
I'm excited. Thank you for inviting me, and this is going to be really good.
Good. I hope so. So first, let's start with pretty much the most important thing that you talk about, which is we all know about the five senses, but there's a sixth one that you say is the most important. So tell me about that.
Well, people have been trained to believe that we only have five senses, but actually science has even advanced, and we recognize that the sixth sense is actually our first sense, because the sixth sense is centered in the heart, and the heart is a very intelligent organ and a very informing organ. Five senses pick up on a certain spectrum of energy that's outwardly oriented, and only in a certain framework of frequency, or certain grid of frequency. And on top of that, our five senses don't work very well. I mean, we see things, but we're not looking. Words are coming in. We're not listening. How many times have we run around the house saying, "Where are my keys?" and they're in your hand? You know, we gulp down our food. And half of us can't smell anything anymore. Everybody comes in with six senses. Every little kid can pick up on energy. I don't like that person. That's a good thing to do. So there's 4 steps to tuning into your intuition. And like I said, the 4 steps of tuning into intuition are like turning on radio, because you're tuning into a broadcast. You're tuning into an informing energy. So the first step is to be open. And this is the one, it's like if you don't turn on the radio, you're never going to get the broadcast. If you don't turn on your computer, you're never going to receive the download, you see. So how many people are open to their intuition? I would say there's maybe 20%.
Very little, yeah.
Very little. The good news, because I've been teaching a long time, is it's changing. And more people are running into so much drama, so much upset, so much unexpected change that their intellect can't help them with. They're being catapulted back to their intuition, and they're being forced
to turn to spirit.
Yeah, and I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. That is the great transformation, even if it's an uncomfortable one. So that's the first thing, is are you even open to that your intuition is a viable sense that you can listen to? So that's turning the radio on. Now the second step is fun and playful, and that is expect your intuition to guide you. Birds have radar, whales have sonar, bats can fly, monarch butterflies can find their way back and forth from one continent to another. Why wouldn't we also, as part of nature, have our own inner guiding system that helps us? There's not an absolute with intuition. It's not what's true absolutely, it's what's true for me, for now. So it's not even a static frequency, it's a wave that you're following, a vibration that kind of guides you step by step. So that's the second step, is to expect it. People expect to be intuitive are, and people who don't are also not. So, and it's a real fun way to tune into your intuition, is just to notice that our head's talking all the time, and it's like watching 24/7 TV or listening to that radio station. What if you just made one simple shift? And this is one that is so simple people can't believe it, is to give your intuition a voice. So the way to tune in real quickly is a technique I call emptying the garbage. So we go to, say we want a question, like what kind of question do you have? Give me one question.
Like what kind of question for you, or a personal
for
question?
You.
Oh, for me, okay.
Anything.
Anything?
Yeah.
Okay. What will I be doing in a year?
Okay. What will I be doing in a year? So, here's how we empty the garbage. You fill in the blank quickly. My head says.
What will I be doing in a year?
My head says.
What will I be doing in a year?
No, answer it.
Oh.
My head says.
Oh, what does my head answer? Oh.
Yeah, my head says.
More spiritual-based interviews.
Okay, and my head says.
Living in a bigger apartment.
And my head says.
Oh gosh, I don't know. Traveling more.
Okay, so the point of that is I'm inviting you to give that figure-out voice time to be heard.
Okay.
Okay. Now, if you just take a breath in through the nose, this is what I teach my students, in through the nose, and let out the sound, ah. But open it up to your ears click. Ah. Can you feel that click? And
oh yeah.
do you feel how it goes all the way down here? Can you feel how it opens up in the throat, in the heart?
Yeah.
You just opened up
this,
you've just activated the intuitive heart. And then, fill in the blank. Relax. Put your hand on your heart. My heart says.
My heart says, in a year. I don't know. I don't think my heart cares.
No, you went back to the old neighborhood.
Oh, okay.
You went back to that brain.
So the old neighborhood is the head.
The old neighborhood. So my heart says, and then just let your heart speak. Just give it a voice, because when you name it, you claim it. But it's not a thinking, it's a feeling. So my heart says, in a year, I'll be...
I don't know.
See, you're back in your head again.
I'm back in my head.
And I'm putting you on your spot because this is where most people go.
Right. Because you start to think about it. Where will I be? You know?
And you'll never find the answer there.
Yeah.
My heart says, maybe I'll be well on my way. My heart says, are you on the right track? What does your heart say? It's a feeling.
The only feeling that the word that came to mind was happy.
Good.
But I didn't know how to say it.
No, you
like,
say
that
it.
I will be happy, but I feel like I am happy now.
Right. So my heart says, happy.
Yeah, okay.
Peaceful. My heart says it's all good because you're in resonance as you're making this transition. Do you see what I mean?
I do.
But we have to take a risk. But it's not a risk that puts us in any sort of compromise or danger. It's actually the risk of giving your authentic self a voice. You don't have to do this with anyone else. You don't have to have an audience. It's not a mandate, because the third step, so we have the first step, be open. I'm open to what my intuition says. Comes here. Second step, expect it. Well, I'll ask. I'll just actually say, this is what my head says, but let me see what my heart says out loud, and that's the key. And the third step is trust. Trust what you feel. And so there is a transition point here, because people think, oh my God, I'm leaping into the void, I'm losing control, this is so risky, but actually you're not leaping into the void when I say trust. You're actually leaping back into your own power. You're actually leaping back into your
And that's really the
nature.
natural state, right? That's where you should be.
Absolutely. It's where you will succeed. So there's some fun things you can do. One of them is you can write it down. So my heart says, write it down.
Right.
My heart says, write it down. My intuition says, that's another way to do it. And here's another technique that's really wonderful. It's your spirit that is your intuition, your inner teacher. It is your authentic self. We have a divine nature. There is a part of us that knows what's right for us. We've been taught that we don't. But nobody knows better than you what's right for you.
Right.
And so I say to my students, name your spirit and have a conversation. So my spirit's name is Bright Light.
Okay.
So whenever I want my intuition to guide me, I ask Bright Light to turn on a brighter light. So I'm not trying to figure things out in the dark.
Okay.
I also teach my students that part of your brain that's figure out and I don't know, and my brain and my I don't know, that part I call your pet. Your human nature. It's like your animal nature. So that's your barking dog.
And yours is called?
Fifi. I mean, don't you see it?
Yeah.
Am I just like a Fifi
You
person?
are.
I am. You should see me dressed up in my high heels and my my designer clothes. I'm so Fifi the Poodle.
Kelly actually told me that she was like, you should see her. She has such fashion taste.
That's Fifi the Poodle. You know, and some have a poodle, and some have a scared Chihuahua, and some have a pit bull, and some have a Great Dane patrolling the borders, and so you don't shoot your pet.
Well, tell me about the pet. Actually, Eckhart Tolle said something that I really like that you just made me think of. He said, you know, like the ego is kind of like a chihuahua. It's always like, right. It wants to be heard. It wants to show that it's strong. And he said, and then you get like these big mastiffs, and they're just quiet, and they're just looking around, and they, you know, they're just so sure of themselves because they're big and they're strong, and they don't need to make a lot of noise.
Well, so, that's a meditative mind. But it's still not your spirit.
Okay.
Okay. Our minds can either be a barking chihuahua, a quiet mastiff. That's an evolved mind.
Oh, but that's still the mind.
It's still the mind.
Okay.
Whereas your spirit doesn't think. It's just here. It's listening. It's listening to vibration. It's listening to life. It's very present. It's feeling how energy flows. It moves you. So one of the biggest things that I've witnessed as a teacher and as an intuitive publicly all my life is most people are intuitive. That is not the problem. We are instead, they're card-carrying members of the woulda, coulda, shoulda club.
Yeah.
I knew it, I felt it, I sensed it, but I chose not to listen, which brings us to our fourth step, act on it. And to actually act on your intuition is probably one of the most empowering and liberating decisions. For example, you're acting, starting this video series. It's an intuitive. It's an intuitive urge. It's an intuitive impulse that you're acting on. And there's not a lot of thinking. You're using your mind to support your spirit. And Einstein said the human spirit, or the intuition, is our sacred gift, and the rational mind, its faithful servant. But sadly, we've thrown away the gift, and we have become enslaved to the servant.
Right.
So my work is to train your pet, which becomes from barking chihuahua or nervous poodle. You train your pet. You don't want to shoot your mind. It's to serve your spirit. But unfortunately, most people's intellect is attacks the spirit. Be afraid, don't do that, that's not right, who do you know, how can you know, let's be sure.
Right. And
so it does take courage to live an intuitive life. But the word courage comes from the French word cœur, which means heart. To have courage means you live a heart-centered life. And you take responsibility to move through life from this authentic place of integrity. And the guarantee is that you're being who you are. And when you are being who you are and making choices that support your authentic self, it's like putting a train on a track. You start getting into flow.
Right.
And that's, it's not like we have to go find our intuition. It's like turning a light on in a dark room.
It's already there. We just need to turn to it.
We need to know that it's there, and the way to do it is your heart is there. As long as it beats, it informs.
Right.
And so give it a voice, like the tool I said. My heart says. So rather than try to get over your mind, my head says versus my heart says. And feel the vibration. Feel it. The mind is busy, where the heart is just, like you said, happy.
And do you feel like when you decide that you're going to act on it, you're going to act on your intuition, the fourth step, do you feel like doors just start to open because your intuition, your intuition recognizes that? Because for me personally, when you said that, through ABC and through CNN, I've done so many amazing things. I've visited refugee camps in Jordan, Syrian refugee camps. I've gone to the Oscars and the Golden Globes. I mean, I've done amazing things at a really young age. But there was this part of me that just, like you said, intuition, that was no, do this independent thing where, you're interviewing spiritual people. That's just what I wanted to do. I felt like I had to do it. And as soon as I turned to that same week is when I met Gabby Bernstein. You happened to be in LA the same week that I decided that I wanted to do this, I mean, all of it just kind of fell into place.
Right. Your train got on the track.
Yeah, it was just like, okay, here we go. This is what you want. This is what you get.
The rails start carrying you.
Right. Yeah.
Instead of you forcing, and this is an exciting point about living an intuitive life. You stop thinking. Once you make the decision, as you noticed, the mind gets quiet, and all of a sudden you're listening instead of talking. And the mind begins to support what you're feeling. It starts attracting the experiences you want rather than you having to go look for them.
Right.
So the other benefit is there's all kinds of benefits, but one of the first is it's less stressful. So if you're spending less stress figuring out, you're more relaxed. If you're more relaxed, you feel better. Your health gets better. Your energy gets better. Your sleep improves. Your vitality lifts up and expands, and your joy comes in, and you start meeting right people, right place, right time. That's called synchronicity, because you've shifted the vibration. And when you made this decision, you got into a vibration with your spirit. Now, everything you've done up until now was your pet, serving your spirit, learning your skills,
right,
gaining your reputation, listening and learning how to interview, traveling the world, studying people. All of that will serve the goal. But it was all leading to this goal. And that opens up to the next phase. It's very exciting.
It is exciting.
So you
it's
don't
new.
have to think.
Just go with it.